In preview stream. That's a lot. That's a lot to say. Uh, but welcome back. We missed last week, but we're back this week. So I just excuse me while I go through and make sure that our settings are all good to go here in the party, so that you can hear us. It sounds like you can. So we should be good to go. Do you have anything to add before we get started here, Adam?
Well, I mean, we missed last week because I got the Rona. And I will say this to anyone who is watching: it's real. Well, for me at least. Obviously, everyone else's cases can, fluctuate. But mine was really, really bad, and actually, I'm still sick, but getting better. So, but again, if you can do everything you can to not get it, please do that. I'm begging you.
That is, you're not the first person to say that either. So, but I'm just glad that you're healthy and you're able to continue on with your life at this point. I mean, are you still dealing with any side effects or symptoms from that?
I mean, most of the big side effects, like, the fever and all that sort of stuff is kind of, gone away. We're good with that. But I'm still congested. I still have a cough. So, other than that, though, I mean, we're good. So it's not that bad. We have our first person in the chat, which is really nice. My contacts need to settle. They almost popped out. It's JB saying "Go Pack Go" and AR-12, which actually, Tyler, quick before we actually start this and start talking about the Carolina Panthers, is Aaron Rodgers the front runner for the MVP?
Is he the front runner for the MVP? I think so. I'm sorry, I got to adjust my setting here. I believe he is, but I could see a argument for Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is the only one at this point that you could see overtaking Rodgers. But I mean, even Rodgers' numbers are surpassing that of Patrick Mahomes. So I think from a statistical perspective, Rodgers has the edge. And so the second part of it, who has meant more to the success of their team? And I think there is a strong argument to be made that also falls in Aaron Rodgers' favor.
I agree with you, and that's the reason I brought it up. Is the first thing I saw in chat was someone said "Go Pack Go" and AR-12. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts were, just on the MVP race of, we're really getting down to the wire here of, the regular season, and with it being a regular season award, I just wanted to get your, quick thoughts on it, and, just see what you thought of if you thought it was still Patrick Mahomes, if you thought maybe Derrick Henry could possibly make a case if he goes nuts here in the last 3 games. But I agree with you. I do think that the front runner for MVP, and as it should be, is Aaron Rodgers. He leads in basically every category except for yards, which is honestly really impressive at age 37 now, being as his birthday was this month.
Right.
That. Not a lot of times you see 37-year-olds lead the league in a bunch of stats, so that's really impressive. And honestly, we're really lucky to have Aaron under center for us and for the last, since 2000, was drafted in 05 and started in 07 or 08. So long time, and obviously we're lucky, and those days are coming to an end sooner rather than later. Hopefully he can play into his 40s, but we've been blessed for the last long while, and
absolutely
now for all the sad talk, let's get into let's get into the game here. There's a Darius game wrecking stuff. Gotta love that. We can talk about last week real quick if you want, just to touch on some of the stuff. Excuse me, guys. But they had a divisional matchup against Detroit. It was a lot closer than probably what people wanted. Because if you watched any of the stuff for Game On during the week, you saw that a lot of people were saying that game should have been a blowout because Detroit really doesn't stop anybody, which is true. Their defense isn't very good, but I don't know, man. I mean, they played well on offense, well enough at least to make it close. I think that Green Bay actually kind of got a gift that Matt Stafford could come back into the game late.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that it was a huge benefit, obviously, to Green Bay, because there were some plays that Chase Daniel did not make that you probably would have expected Matthew Stafford to make. And yeah, I want to talk about that offense for Detroit. They played really well. Oh, that was a suction animation. Thanks, Madden.
Really slow spin move, too.
Yeah, it was. But the point is, in regards to the Detroit game, the offense played super well for Detroit, and I don't think that they should take anything away from them. I don't want to look at the defense and say that they played poorly, because I don't think they did. I mean, even if you go back and look at the statistics from that game, the defense did what it's supposed to do. Honestly, it really did. And the offense for the Lions was a fundamental. It was efficient. Obviously, was not good enough to get the win in the end, but maybe it would have been if Matthew Stafford had stayed in the game. And I think the line was 8.5 going into the game last week. That was always too big. The Packers were almost never going to cover that. Not in a divisional matchup in Detroit. It just wasn't going to happen. So it was. I think it went as expected for me. They won easily, but it wasn't as easily as I think a lot of people thought it should have been.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there were some question marks on defense. I agree with you, though. I don't think the defense played poorly. I think that they did what they needed to do when needed. Holding the Lions to a field goal here, or either getting a 3-and-out to start the second half. That was nice. Just stuff like that. But I mean, there are still concerns, still question marks, obviously, because I mean, let's be honest here. The middle of the field.
That was not what I expected him to do. He just stood there.
Corn Elder, one of the greatest names in football, by the way. One of the greatest names in football, Corn Elder. But back to what I was saying, there are still question marks. Christian Kirksey looks lost. I'm done with the Christian Kirksey experience. I think that Kamal Martin and Chris Barnes should really be the guys going forward.
Do you trust them more? But do you trust them more to make the right read? I don't think it's so much about ability at this point. It's who do you trust more?
I mean, I've watched Christian Kirksey just be lost and miss tackles, and just he looks slow. There are just things where I would down the stretch here. It's hard because they only have the North wrapped up. I would say if they had like a 1 or a 2 game lead, going into it of, for the 1 seed, that maybe you do see what you have with a duo of Barnes and Martin. But with it being so tight still, I mean, because you still only have the one game, well, not even a 1 game lead, honestly, because you have the same record as the Saints at 10-3, but you have the tiebreaker, obviously. It's hard to just say, okay, well, sit the veteran because, he doesn't look as good, so you can see what rookies have. Like, the Packers aren't in a position for that, which that's
right.
What makes it more difficult. I would like to see it, but it's not going to happen. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter in that case. But I don't know, man. Christian Kirksey hasn't looked good. Chandon Sullivan has taken a step back, trying to find the Raven Green replacement, which I will say in his limited snap count, Vernon Scott did look pretty decent. The screen game early for Detroit was really working, and later on in the game, you saw Vernon Scott really sniff one out and make a big tackle in the open field. Honestly. It was nice to see a defensive back actually, see that, go make a play on it, and actually tackle a running back in open field. But it's going to be the Achilles heel going forward, and it just is what it is at this point. Is the Packers' middle of the field defense is just not good.
No, and I don't think that's a huge surprise to anybody. I mean, Kenny Clark has been asking for help for a long time now, and he just hasn't really gotten it. I mean, Kingsley Keke has been really good, much to the surprise of a lot of people. Personally, I wasn't that surprised. I loved him coming out of Texas A&M, but I mean, he's not the answer in run defense. He's a great spell defensive lineman. He offers some juice in the pass rush, and he's a decent run defender. He's not great. Dean Lowry is very average himself. There just isn't enough firepower there in the middle to make up for the lack of talent at the linebacker position, and there really hasn't been in a long time now. And so it's really not surprising to see these guys continue to struggle in the middle. But I look at this game here, and this is an opportunity. The Panthers are not the greatest offense. They're very, we could say they're efficient. They don't make mistakes. They're going to run the ball. That's something they're going to do. If they can establish the run, then they can get the play action going, and they have two big play threats in DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, who can really make you pay deep. Now, I think that the Packers have the ability to match up well with these two. I'm looking forward to those matchups. Actually, I really want to see how Patton decides to attack this group. Did he get the first down? I'm sorry, I'm really focused right there. But I really want to see how he attacks this wide receiver group, because I just think that the capability is there for Green Bay to make a statement. In terms of defensively, I think they can really make an impact against the Panthers. The Panthers are a decent team, and I don't think that should be understated. I mean, obviously the Packers have the advantage here as they welcome Carolina into Green Bay, but it's still, I don't think that the Packers should play down to the Panthers level. I think that's what I was trying to get at.
I do think that it does come down to stop. It's weird because Christian McCaffrey is doubtful. More than likely, he's not going to play, which is a blessing, right? Because Christian McCaffrey can be a game-breaking type player, like a Dalvin Cook, like we saw earlier this year. My thing with it, though, is like, I know it's going to be weird to say, but Mike Davis has been really good this year for them, and he's no slouch per se, I guess, but he's no Christian McCaffrey either. My thing is, if you can stop their running game and put the ball into the hands of Teddy Bridgewater in the cold, I think you have a good chance to really blow the doors off of Carolina. Teddy Bridgewater isn't this, I got a big arm, I'm going to cut it through the wind. I mean, it's going to be December. It's December. It's cold. It's a night game. There's just a lot of stuff going on that doesn't really play into Teddy Bridgewater's, skill set for this. But again, you said it, DJ Moore, they run some tunnel screens for him. Robbie Anderson, too. These guys can really take the top off. They have game-breaking speed. It'll be an interesting test. I'm more interested to see if they do a little bit of shadowing this week with Jair on one of those receivers. I don't really know which one you would want. I would probably say DJ Moore because I think that he is the better player. But, it'll just be interesting to see what they want to do. And I really think if you can take Mike Davis away and try and make Teddy Bridgewater beat you, you're in a good position defensively. That is. Now the offense still has to come out and make plays, and be efficient. And I don't really see why they would have an issue with the Panthers defense. I know they started off well. We talked about it in pre-show that they started off really well this year, but they've kind of fallen by the wayside. I think that they can really take advantage of the matchup through the air, because let's be honest here, no one's really stopping Davante Adams, and I mean they have Dante Jackson. Dante Jackson's a decent corner, but again, I don't think he's stopping. I don't think he's stopping Davante Adams. I think Davante Adams will do whatever he wants, and he'll get whatever he wants. But when it comes down to it, I think they can really take advantage of the middle of the field. Maybe this is a Robert Tonyan type game where he has a nice game. possibly. I know they have Shaq Thompson, but I mean, he's not Luke Kuechly. You know, Luke Kuechly retiring early is, well, I mean,
well,
for us
and
this
Shaq
week is a
Thompson
blessing.
too. Shaq Thompson's a run-stopping linebacker. That's what his role is primarily. That's what he does well. And I think that when you look at this defense, they're pretty average. I mean, they've got a couple of really good young players coming up. You talked about Dante Jackson. I think he could really have an impact on Marquez Valdez-Scantling, excuse me. I don't know if he's going to necessarily be covering Devontae Adams. I mean, I don't know who on this defense could cover Devontae Adams. There's been better corners who have tried and failed, and I think Dante Jackson's the best corner on that team. I think that he's susceptible to the type of player that Devontae Adams is, and so they might use Dante Jackson to really eliminate the Marquez Valdez-Scantling part of the game, which is viable. Like, that is an important part of this offense, and I think it's understated how well Marquez Valdez-Scantling has performed, and the role that he plays in this offense, and the significance of that.
Agree. I mean, hey, tip of the cap to MVS last week. He balled out last week. 6 for 6 last week. 6 targets, 6 catches, 85 yards. A nice contested touchdown catch. You know, that was nice to see from him. One player though that I'm a little afraid of when it comes to Carolina is
Oh my gosh,
Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, if he plays, he is questionable. He popped up on the injury report late with a hamstring issue, but I mean, I don't want to speculate, you know, going into the game if he's playing or not. But if he does play, he can really do some things that'll give the Packers fits, because you talked about it. You know, they have Robbie Anderson, they have DJ Moore. Those guys are good players, but those guys kind of quote unquote get eliminated, if you want to say it in that sense, from, you know, they have Kevin King and Jair Alexander. Well, now it's Chandon Sullivan or Darnell Savage or Adrian Amos, or God forbid, I hope it's not Christian Kirksey or one of the linebackers on him. But
my goodness,
you know, Curtis Samuel in the middle of the defense, lining up in the backfield, you know, them getting a good matchup from Curtis Samuel is kind of scary. He's one of the guys that you got to really look at for this week, because I think that they can take advantage of that matchup.
they certainly can, and that's exactly what Curtis Samuel was intended to be when he came out of Ohio State. He's intended to be a matchup problem, and he's a good runner with the football. I mean, that's why they've used him at running back in the absence of Christian McCaffrey. He's a good receiver. He's fast. He can really make some big plays, and I wonder if that's where Mike Pettin decides to turn his focus, because I mean, I think you understand what DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are going to be able to do. Teddy Bridgewater's not going to be able to take the top off this defense. He's just not. That's not the type of player he is anymore. Not that he ever was, but that he may have had a little bit more ability prior to missing a couple years, really, with injuries and such. He's not going to be that guy. So Curtis Samuel is going to be a big focus for this defense, because he's the type of guy that can get the ball into the hands of, and he can make plays. Mike Davis is another guy too who's played really well in the absence of Christian McCaffrey. This defense or offense overall has really been able to manage the missing workload of Christian McCaffrey, and they've just kind of done it as a team. There's not really one guy who's excelled and the other ones who haven't.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
This Panthers offense, wow, Ian Thomas didn't want to block nobody.
Dude, your defensive front right now is destroying the Packers' offensive line, and on the other side, it's insane. Anyway.
Gotta love it. Gotta love Madden is more where we're getting at with that. But, yeah, no, I mean, the matchup, they have some, the Panthers have some matchups that they can really take advantage of. I'm not really worried about the tight end game this week, because Ian Thomas really hasn't shown a lot.
I have something to add to that before you go too much into it, because Ian Thomas, this is the fantasy in me coming out. He doesn't get a ton of looks, all right, but he runs, I think it was third most routes in the league from the tight end spot. So he runs a lot of routes. He doesn't get a lot of looks. So if this is a game where you're looking at the linebackers to be impactful and somewhere that could be vulnerable, Ian Thomas is a sneaky impact player for the Carolina Panthers, a guy who could kind of come out of nowhere because he's involved in the offense. He's just not getting looks. This is a game where you could finally say, all right, Ian Thomas, we're going to use you because the matchup is really in your favor.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. Obviously, when it comes down to it, obviously it always comes down to if the opposing coordinator, head coach, depending on team, is going to really look at it and say, okay, what matchups can we take advantage of, or is it going to turn into then what do we do best? Like you get what I'm saying. Can I get the ball into the hands of DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, or am I going to look at Curtis Samuel, Mike Davis, and Ian Thomas then more at this point to try and take advantage of those matchups? Matt Rule is one of those guys where I think that he's always going to be matchup based. So maybe you do see a little more Ian Thomas in this game. Again, we've kind of banged it home that Curtis Samuel and Mike Davis are really scary options for this Packers defense to try and shut down, and especially with Carolina wanting to run the football, that's going to be one of those things where if Green Bay can get out early and take away the run game, that'll be big for their defense. But again, they have to do those things though. They can't just come out and sleepwalk. And with it being a Saturday game, it changes everything. These guys are creatures of habit. You guys have heard it a lot of, hey, we have a routine, we have a schedule. Now with it, being bumped to a date earlier rather than a day later, it could throw things off a little bit. I hope not, honestly.
What is going on right now? Sorry, Gross Matos is absolutely destroying Bakhtiari on every single play, and it's actually really frustrating. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, that would be very frustrating because I don't think that happens anyway.
Nope.
No, we're just looking at matchups of things that can really mess with Green Bay. With it being a Saturday, I'm not making excuses for them. These guys are pros, so they got to figure it out regardless. But I don't see why it being a Saturday game is an issue for them because, Matt LaFleur has shown that he's going to have his team ready to play more times than not. We've obviously had some clunkers and some things where you're like, ooh, that was not very good. But I don't see why anything would be an issue with it being on a Saturday or anything like that. Honestly, it just comes down to, are they going to execute, and are they going to take advantage of a beat-up? Carolina is really just one of those teams where they're kind of packing it in for the year, honestly.
Yeah. Why wouldn't
they? Yeah, I mean, they're what, 4-9? Does that sound right? I mean, trying to think.
They are a good 4-9 team, though. If I'm being honest.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and act like, because I mean we've said it. We've given the Carolina offense a lot of shine. We've given them a lot of praise. It's just one of those things of they're just out of it, So do they really want to come into the cold in December in Green Bay, and does their defense really want to tackle people? Just stuff like that where, these guys are pros. I do understand that, but at the same time, like they could be giving up on the year and just be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna pack it in. So I'm really looking for Green Bay's offense just to come out and really just execute. That's what they need to do. Maybe see if they can get the running game going a little bit. Honestly, I think that the injury to Corey Linsley is a big one. I mean, I think we all knew that going into it, that missing Corey Linsley was going to be a big deal. But man, the running game has been not really good these past couple weeks, especially with not having Corey Linsley, moving Elton Jenkins over to center. I mean, there was something I saw earlier. I don't remember who tweeted it out, but Aaron Jones, since being in Green Bay, has 10 touchdowns through the A-gap. not having Corey Linsley and moving Elton Jenkins to center, then moving Lucas Patrick over to left guard and having Billy Turner play right guard, I mean, that really has messed with the run blocking, especially in the middle. And, you know, Elton Jenkins has never been really one of those guys where he's been a mover in the run game. He's just been amazing as a pass blocker. And him being a guy in the run game or in the run blocking is going to come, because that's usually how it goes, depending. But, you know, I'm really thinking they're missing Corey Linsley right now in the run game.
No, I mean, they're missing Corey Linsley, period. I think, I mean, Elton Jenkins has done a great job. I mean, he's a good player. But, I mean, when you lose a lineman like Corey Linsley, it's natural that you're going to experience some, what do we call it, delay, some lag, some inefficiency. Like, there's a number of things that you're going to miss from a veteran player like Corey Linsley. And I think that it's the intangibles that you don't really think about on a play-to-play basis, on a season-long basis even, the intangibles of a guy directing that offensive line. Not that the offensive line has been a problem, but we can't see some of the adjustments that he makes from place to play. I guarantee we don't see 99% of the adjustments he makes. And so when you miss a guy like that who's also as intellectual as Corey Linsley is, who's been in this offense, who's been around Aaron Rodgers for as long as he has, that value that he provides cannot be understated.
Agreed. And I think that again, as I said, I think that's a big reason in the run game why they're struggling. It's weird because, you know, you want to sit here and say, okay, well, is it really one player why they're struggling in the run game? I mean, if you look at it, though, it's not just one player that's being affected here. You know, I know that Corey Linsley is out. He's the one player that, you know, is missing. But Billy Turner sliding into guard where, I mean, he played decent enough last year. He was good until, you know, some injury issues came in at the end of the year. But, man, he's been amazing at tackle this year. So now you're moving him in. You're putting Rick Wagner in. Rick Wagner, again, he's came in, he's stepped up, he's done his job. But, you know, there's more moving pieces within the offensive line now that's shuffling. That's kind of an issue. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where I think we don't really appreciate it enough of the job that Corey Linsley does. And, I mean, it's sad because I think that, sadly enough, with the cap crunch and all that he's going to be gone at the end of the year for sure.
I agree.
But, you know, hopefully he comes back for the stretch run. Hopefully, I don't know if they can get him back for next week against Tennessee, but hopefully he comes back at some point this year. Wow, Ian Thomas just dropped the ball.
He sure did.
Wow. But, you know, hopefully it comes down to it to where, you know, they get him back for the playoffs, stretch run, you know, all that stuff. But, yeah, that's kind of I think that's kind of the issue with, you know, Aaron Jones and the running game kind of struggling as of recent. Mm-hmm. Were you at all concerned last week when, I don't know if it was just me, but in the middle of the game, it seemed like Aaron Jones just wasn't on the field. Like, second and third quarter, it just seemed like he wasn't on the field. It seemed like it was just, you know, it was going to be the Jamal Williams show at that point. And were you concerned at all that something maybe came out of, you know, if there was an injury or anything like that? Or do you really just think that they use Aaron Jones on the first drive of the game, like normal, and then from there they just kind of, you know, wait until the fourth quarter so they can use him then? Or what do you think is going through Matt LaFleur's head of really the snap count split of the running backs?
Basically, oh no, that's wow. I think what's happening is they're preserving Aaron Jones. I just don't. I think that the game got out of hand early, we could say, and why run Aaron Jones when you don't have to? They've done it for a couple weeks now. I know they've always talked about preserving him, and so I think that's exactly what's happening. Why have A.J. Dillon and why have Jamal Williams, these two very qualified backs, if you're not going to use them.
Oh, I agree. I think that I don't know if this week is going to be different, but I really think that they might be really getting ready to unleash Aaron Jones.
This game sucks. Oh my god, this game is terrible. I'm sorry.
I really think that they might be getting ready to say forget the snap count splits and just start really getting ready to ramp up Aaron Jones. I don't know if it comes this week, honestly, but I'm really hoping that they kind of do what they did in the playoffs last year. If you guys remember, in Seattle, I think Jamal Williams was on the field for like 7 plays. It really did just come down to, all right, Aaron, you're the guy. Like, you're the dynamic runner. You're the guy we want to use. Here we go. I'm really hoping that it does get to that point soon, because I don't think Aaron Jones is here next year. So, use the tread on the tires, man. Like, as bad as it sounds, I'm saying basically, hey, run this dude into the ground because he won't be here next year. That is what I'm saying, because I don't think that they have the money to really give him. So honestly, I really want them to, just give Aaron Jones like 35 carries a game and call it a day. Not necessarily 35, because then you're taking the ball out of the hands of Aaron Rodgers, but yeah, I mean, I think you get what I'm saying from the standpoint of, hey, use them up. And I just missed another PAT. Let's see. Is the commentary real, or is this in-game? Well, there's both. If you hear our voices, that's our commentary. But if you hear like Charles Davis and I can't remember the other dude's name, in-game,
Godden, I think Brandon Godden. I think his name is
Brandon Godden and Charles Davis. If you hear them, that's from Madden. But if you hear my voice or Tyler's voice, that's us talking about the game. Now, let's actually get to a topic here, shall we? So we've kind of gone over what Carolina's offense is and stuff like that. What do you see Green Bay having to do to win this football game then?
Just do what they do best. Which, I talk about that, and I'm out here throwing interceptions on long bombs because I guess I underestimated Aaron Rodgers' ability to actually throw the football accurately. So I'm the idiot. But just do what they do best. I mean, if they are able to run their offense, I don't think Carolina is going to be able to keep up, because I don't think Carolina is a big play offense like they should be. I mean, they have the capability for sure, and I do think that they actually match up really well with the Packers in terms of what they can do. Packers are going to be able to contain the big play. They've done it all year long. That's something that has plagued them in the past. This is something that they'll be able to take advantage of this week, I think. And they'll be able to really hone in on the Panthers. And if the Panthers are able to win this game, it's because they're playing super efficiently like the Lions did last week. They're able to capitalize on mistakes, if there's any mistakes at all from the Packers offense. They don't tend to make many, and when they do tend to lose. But they don't tend to make a lot of mistakes, and so the opportunities are going to be limited for this Panthers offense. And so that's what I'll be looking for, is for the Packers to simply be good enough, which is what they usually do, to win games. And so just do what they do, and I think they're going to win the game because I think they outmatch the Panthers. The Panthers are going to have to play. They're going to have to outperform, and that's not typically something you can bank on. Now, the Panthers typically play the Packers well, but I just think that the Packers really match up well with what the Panthers want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in the standpoint of, I think Green Bay just has to come out and do what they want to do. Do what they do best is kind of where we're at.
That's passive.
That's definitely PI.
Golly, dude, this game, bro.
It definitely comes down to Green Bay has gotten away from that blip in the middle of the year where they were turning the ball over. Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown an interception since the Colts game, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, that's only a couple weeks ago, though.
I mean, but still, Green Bay hasn't Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown an interception since the Colts game. If I'm 100% on that, they haven't. I don't really have they turned the ball over since that Colts game actually. Like,
oh my God, are you kidding me? Yeah,
Trenton
no.
Cannon.
This game, dude. Kenny Clark is getting eaten alive by the Panthers right now.
I don't think that Green Bay has turned the ball over since that Colts game. And I know that was in week 11 or week 12, so that's only a couple weeks ago. But, I mean, you look at the games before that of, fumble here. Devontae Adams had a couple, a fumble or two, and then, they just had that blip in the middle of the year that was kind of ugly where they were turning the ball over. I think they've gotten away from that, and they're back to what they really do, and that's take care of the football. And I think if they can just do that and really just let Aaron Rodgers be Aaron Rodgers, they'll win the football game. I think that that's really what it comes down to. I think that the offense is good enough to carry the defense in a game like this where I think the defense is going to struggle a little bit more just because of some of the things that we've pointed out from, from their defense or from what the Panthers have on offense. And, Yetur Gross-Matos is game-breaking, I guess. Oh, Alan Lazard, what a play.
Oh my gosh. This game. Wow.
It's one of those things where I think that Curtis Samuel and Mike Davis are really going to be problems this week. But I don't think they're going to be game-breaking enough to, really wreck the game, per se. If that makes sense.
It does.
And, I don't think that the Panthers offense can do enough to really just come in and win this game, basically. You're really banking on Teddy Bridgewater. I can't bank on Teddy Bridgewater to come in the cold with, he has weak arm issues too. We've talked about quarterbacks with weak arm issues so far this year, and Teddy Bridgewater is one of those guys. And, I really liked Teddy Bridgewater when he was, you had Devontae wide open for a touchdown.
Was pressured again because apparently the offensive line for the Packers is terrible and can't block either one of these guys right now.
But, it comes down to, I think the Packers offense is just going to outmatch the Panthers defense when it's all said and done, and they come out of here with a W. I mean, that's my feeling. That's my thought process. I don't really think the Panthers are going to come in and really want to play. A guy on defense that could maybe make things a little difficult is Jeremy Chin. He's played pretty solid for being a rookie so far this year.
It's an understatement. He's probably running for Defensive Rookie of the Year. But yes,
yeah,
I agree.
He's been really, really, really good so far this year for Carolina's defense. You've seen it. I guess the Packers' offense kind of has issues with blocking Yetur Gross-Matos and Brian Burns. Brian Burns is a guy, though, that you should watch out for. Everyone knows who Brian Burns is in Packers land because, everyone wanted Brian Burns in the draft. He's a really good player. He's a guy that maybe I don't really know where they go with him though. From the matchup standpoint, they probably put him over on the right side and have him pick on Rick Wagner. But the Packers have been so good at really helping the guys that need the help the most. Like they leave David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins on islands when they have to because they know those guys are the rocks. And
oh my gosh, why did he not turn?
They've done a really good job pass blocking so far this year. Aaron's been clean every game but one basically, and that was obviously the game against Tampa Bay. But I just don't see the Panthers having enough firepower to really mess with this Packers offense. And I don't see them putting up enough points. I know Carolina gives up 25 points a game. There's a reason Green Bay scores basically 30 a game, and I don't see that changing this year, unless, as I said, like Brian Burns can wreck the game, and I don't see that.
Right. I think that he's going to make an impact player too, and of course it's going to be very, very Packers game-like. If Brian Burns makes a play, Twitter's going to erupt in flames. But
Rashawn Gary better make 7 of those plays then,
right.
or otherwise it's going to turn into the point of, Rashawn Gary's a bust. Let's forget everything he's done so far this year, where he's really taken that sophomore step, which is a big thing. But, if Brian Burns does anything, Packers Twitter's going to melt down.
Well, and that's the interesting storyline that I don't think we've really talked about enough is Brian Burns versus Rashawn Gary, obviously coming from the same draft class. A lot of Packers fans wanted Brian Burns, and rightfully so. I mean, he was a really talented pass rusher. Let's kind of work in some retrospect, though. How do you think he would have fit into this defense? Because I don't think he does. When I look at this defense and the way that they play, I don't know if he fits. Maybe Preston Smith's role, maybe, but I'm trying to think of where he would best fit in the way that they would use him, and I'm not sure there's a great role for him in this defense, and I say that with 100% honesty.
When it comes down to it, what are the Tyler? I mean, I'll let you answer the question that I'm about to ask. How many times do you see rookies or second-year players really making big-time contributions with this Packers team since Brian Gutekunst has taken over?
They don't draft with the intent of players doing that, so not very often.
Exactly. So what makes you think that Brian Burns is going to have the same level of production here in Green Bay? Now, again, do I think that Brian Burns is a great player? Obviously, yes, I do. There's the numbers really back that up too. But when it comes down to it, he probably doesn't get the same number of snaps that he's getting in Carolina if he was in Green Bay. It's hard to play the what if game of, if he was in Green Bay, what would happen? Blah. We don't know. We don't.
Right.
But at the same time, looking at it, you kind of got to go off the track record of what they have. When they've taken these guys, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
you put Brian Burns in the Rashawn Gary role. Then Brian Burns probably wasn't playing over Zadarius or Preston last year. He probably would have gotten the same sort of snap counts that Rashawn Gary got. Because guess what? Zadarius and Preston were probably the best edge duo last year in the league.
Right.
So are you really taking one of those guys off the field then at that point for Brian Burns? No, probably not. This year's a little different. Preston has taken the step back. Hopefully he has another good game this week. That's what I'm hoping happens, so that he's really starting to trend upward towards the stretch run of the postseason. But yeah, maybe Brian Burns plays the Rashawn Gary role this year. So it's hard to put these rookies in. It's hard to put these rookies in spots when, again, Green Bay just doesn't draft to use them in year one.
Exactly, and Green Bay hasn't done that for a while. I mean, very often do they draft for absolute need, and it's frustrating. It is frustrating for a lot of Packers fans because you say, oh well, we could be one player away. Well, obviously, these guys are in the positions they're in for a reason. These guys know what they're doing, and they find these players. You develop the players the right way. They did. I mean, if you look all the way back to Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre, that's the most recent biggest case study that we have here. The Packers draft for the long term, and then you look at Jordan Love this year. That's what they do. They draft for the long term. They draft the key talent at the key positions, and that's just what they do. That's just what the Packers are, and that's what's made them such a successful franchise for the past 20 years.
But no, we should all lose our mind and forget the long haul and all that, blah blah blah. No, I agree with you. There's been, in the Gutekunst tenure, there has been one day one starter going into training camp, and that was Darnell Savage. I know that Jair Alexander, obviously, he played a role his rookie year, but he wasn't a preferred starter day one in camp.
Right.
That's just is how it goes. Green Bay just doesn't do that, and I don't mind it. They give these guys I know a lot of people are clamoring for for A.J. Dillon to get more touches and stuff like that. But okay, if you give A.J. Dillon more touches, that means you take Aaron Jones off the field. That means you take Jamal Williams off the field, who are productive players in their own right. It's hard for me to say, okay, yeah, take that guy off the field for the rookie so I can see what he can do. They drafted A.J. Dillon for next year. That's just how it goes. It's weird. It's weird because you can use A.J. Dillon in a role this year, in my opinion. I think that he has a role. But again, as I just said, you're taking one of Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams off the field then for him. And I can't agree with that. Because, I mean, you saw it. Look at how special Aaron Jones is. 77-yard touchdown run to seal the Philly game. I mean, that was huge. And it doesn't make sense of why a lot of Packers fans decide that they're going to give up on the front office because, they didn't draft a wide receiver. Well, what wide receiver did you want them to draft when they traded up? Because all of the first-round guys were really off the board at that point.
Well, I think Jefferson and Ayuk were the top two. I think Jefferson and Ayuk were their top two, and I've had this conversation before. Exactly what you said. All the guys that they probably wanted to draft, I would be willing to bet good money that Jefferson and Ayuk were on the top of their board. Of all the guys they wanted to draft, they were all gone. Everybody reached for him, and there's something to be said about that. But also, the Packers have never done that.
Yeah, but if you also look at it from the draft standpoint, if you want to trade up for Justin Jefferson, you have to go from 30 to 19 because Philly wasn't going to move back. Philly wasn't going to move back from 20 when they took Jalen Reagor because they had their sights set on Jalen Reagor. They wanted him. And then Minnesota drafts at 21, and they took Justin Jefferson. So where you had to jump up from 30 to 19.
Right.
That's a lot of draft
capital.
capital.
Can you imagine the draft capital that would have taken? And it still would have been wrong because they had to pay draft capital to move up.
I know they used some of that draft capital to move up from 30 to 26 to take Jordan Love. I do understand that. That's fine. But my thing with it then turns into they only gave up a fourth-round pick to go get the quarterback they deem as the heir apparent. I mean, they viewed Brian Gutekunst has hitched his wagon to Jordan Love, and that's the guy he sees as his quarterback that he's taking because, I mean, let's be honest here, GMs get a head coaching hire and a quarterback. Well, Brian Gutekunst hasn't gotten his quarterback because, he has Aaron Rodgers, and obviously we tip the cap and want him to stay around for a long time if he's going to play at an MVP level. But when it really comes down to it, Brian Gutekunst, there's been some rumors that have come out, and again, I don't want to speculate on rumors because I'm not in the draft room. I don't know. But they loved Brandon Ayuk, and guess what? He got sniped from them.
I believe it. No, I believe it because I thought 26. I thought that was about right for Brandon Ayuk. He went earlier than I thought he was going to go. I think he probably went earlier than a lot of people thought he was going to go. I mean, I know that there was during the draft, there was a lot of talk about how the Packers didn't have the cojones, we'll say, to go get a wide receiver. When in reality, the league was just going. They were willing to pay the premium. The Packers were not willing to overpay to go get one of these guys. When they felt like they had confidence in their top guys. So that's really all about boiled down to. But yeah, no, I believe that Ayuk was on the top of their list as well.
Yeah, no, I think that their top two guys, and obviously they probably had like Ruggs, Lamb, those sort of guys. They probably had those guys up there too.
I don't believe it, honestly. That's my assessment. But
they probably had. Again, we don't know the draft board, but of their realistic targets, unless they were gonna pay the house to move up for like CeeDee Lamb or Henry Ruggs or one of those guys Jerry Jeudy, unless they were going to pay the house to get up that high, which again they weren't going to do. Their realistic targets were Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk. And I know a lot of people say, well, why don't they trade up with Jacksonville at 19 and go get them? Like, why don't they go get their guy then? Does that take it next year? Technically this year's first then to get up to 19 from 30? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, we don't really ever know what, because I know a lot of people love to use the wonderful draft chart of value for picks and stuff like that.
Yeah, very, very case by case basis.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's a nice tool to maybe give you an idea of what it would take, but I mean, you look at it, the Saints moved from 30 to 12.
Oh my gosh!
To take Marcus Davenport. Now that's higher than 19, but they had to give up an extra first. Jacksonville sitting there, they probably, they drafted Kayvon Chason. They probably really wanted Kayvon Chason because he fell right in their lap. You probably have to pay a premium to get to that spot then, because if a team has a guy on their board that they love right there, why would they move back from 19 to 30?
Right.
It's hard when it comes to draft talk because, again, it's over and is done with. There's no reason to continue to, beat this dead horse. Packers did what they did. I just don't see why, especially going into a cap crunch year. Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball, I mean, they're really good at their job. They know what they're doing. Knowing that it's a cap crunch, they can't give up another first-round pick to move up to get a rookie wide receiver. That, again, this regime doesn't use rookies like that. So, it doesn't really make sense in a standpoint of why they would do it. I understand Packer fans wanted it, and, I did too. I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, nope, they did the 100% right thing. Of course I wanted a wide receiver because I want this team to go win a Super Bowl. But after draft night, I sat there and I looked at it and was like, oh, okay. I am frustrated, but I see what they're doing. And I don't mind it. I don't. It's over. It's done with. You gotta, if Jordan Love is gonna play to the level of what Packer fans have seen from their quarterback play since 19. When did Favre take over? What year was that? 93. If Packer fans are going to see the next 20 years after Aaron Rodgers and have high-level quarterback play, they're not going to care about Justin Jefferson, or they're not going to care about, oh, well, they drafted A.J. Dillon instead of Antonio Gibson in the second round. They're not going to care. That's just what it comes down to. Is they're just not going to care. Because Jordan Love is, if that's a big if, because we don't know. If Jordan Love is good, you're just not going to care. That's just what it comes down to. You're just not going to care. Well, let's get into game predictions since the game is over. The game is over. I do think that the Packers hang 35 points up. I don't see why they would have any sort of issue. I think that they win 35-21. I think that Carolina is going to have a chance to make it a little more interesting, but I think the defense can come up with a turnover or two maybe this week. So hopefully we see that down in the red zone. I think Jair Alexander gets an interception this week. I'll go out on my limb there and say I think that he gets an interception this week. I think Teddy Bridgewater forgets where Jair Alexander is at one point in time and throws it to him. So that's my bold prediction is Jair gets one this week. But I got Packers 35-21.
Yeah, I think the score I had was 30-17 Packers. I think the Panthers are able to keep it kind of close, but I think the Packers pull away late in this one, which has been kind of the opposite of what they've been doing. But I do think the Packers win something like 30-17. I think they win by about a touchdown plus, so 10 points-ish in that range. So let's just say 30-20. I think that's about right for this game. So I think the over-under is at 51.5, if I remember correctly. I could be remembering that incorrectly, but it's very close to that. So there's some points to be expected here in Green Bay. But I got 30-20. I do think that Darnell Savage continues to build on his strong stretch of games, and I think he has an impactful day again in Green Bay.
I agree. I would love to see Darnell continue his ascension. That would be lovely, honestly, because I'll be honest with you, Adrian Amos has really stepped his game up too as of recent. He's played really well. So if Darnell can keep doing that, that really helps the back half. As for this game, Madden is kind of fluky, let's be honest, because the Packers' offensive line isn't going to have Rodgers under pressure like that really ever.
No.
But as for us, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be able to actually, sit up for a little bit. That's nice, because there were times where I couldn't sit up for more than 10 minutes at a time.
Dang.
So, it is what it is. But I'm happy to be back and really, 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 really looking forward to the stretch run here. Hopefully the Packers can take care of business tomorrow. The game is Saturday for everyone. It is a weird one, but it is a Saturday game, and I think kick is 7:15 Lambeau time, if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull that up real quick as I'm sitting here. I think it's a 7:15 kick or a 7:25, one of those two. It's a really random kick time. Let's see. It'd be nice if this would load for me. It is a 7:15 kick on a Saturday night at Lambeau Field.
Oh boy, let's get some
So,
snow. I want some snow.
yeah.
That's what I'm asking for right now.
Yeah, that would be cool to see. That would definitely hinder Teddy Bridgewater even more. But yeah, Saturday kick, 7:15 Lambeau time, taking on the Carolina Panthers. As for me, that's it. And as always, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.